Alright, it's the middle of January 2019. Got a little bit of free time before training today, so I wanted to make a quick video sharing some information that I think can be helpful for anyone who's looking to improve their health and wellness. The idea of fitness and creating a better lifestyle for yourself can often be really confusing and frustrating, not knowing what's going to be effective and what may or may not work for you, especially when you have all these new diets and training systems coming about, anything from, the paleo diet to the ketogenic diet to CrossFit, stuff like that. As someone who's tried a variety of these things, I wanted to share some of my experiences. These are experiences that have led me to develop a number of habits with regards to my physical training, my nutrition, and my mental health that have made me the strongest and the happiest I've ever been. It's important that you have direction in your journey with fitness, which will come from setting goals and asking yourself the right questions along the way. How do you feel? How do you look? How are you functioning? And are your habits sustainable? Be goal-oriented and make each goal as specific as possible. The more detailed and the more vivid you can make each goal, then the better your chances at attaining it. Let me take this time to say that I'm not a professional. Any knowledge that I have has just come from personal experience and from a variety of sources that I've read. And I wanted to kind of provide a summary of the information that I found useful. Guys, let me preface this video by reminding you that everyone's body is unique, so it's critical that you have the patience to figure out yours. It's important that you're attentive to how your body responds to what you do for it, and that you have the patience to make adjustments along the way. So with all that being said, this is what I've done, this is what I found useful, this is what works for me. When it comes to nutrition, I understand that the term diet has kind of developed a certain negative connotation. That is, those who go on a diet are likely to be off said diet after some period of time. Regardless of the term that you use, all that I'm advocating are healthy habits that will last you your whole life. So I figured I'd start by sharing some of my personal habits. I start each day with 2 tall glasses of water before anything else. This is so I begin each day well hydrated, and it also helps me kind of dull any feelings of hunger that I feel like I might have. Usually I don't eat until 1 in the afternoon. As some of you might have figured, that's because I follow an eating pattern called intermittent fasting. More specifically, I follow the 16-8 pattern, where I eat my normal meals within an 8-hour window and then I fast for the remaining 16 hours of the day. I found that 16 hours is right around the minimum required to really experience the benefits of intermittent fasting. With that being said, there are different variations out there that are more suitable to different kinds of people depending on your activity level. The main benefits that I've noticed from intermittent fasting are improved fat loss, muscle growth, and mental clarity. Part of the whole magic behind intermittent fasting deals with insulin sensitivity. Insulin is a key hormone in the body's process of utilizing the glucose that we get from the food that we eat and using it for fuel. When we don't have enough insulin, that glucose isn't being used and instead stays in our bloodstream, which will then be turned to body fat. What fasting does is that it improves our body's sensitivity to insulin, which will keep body fat levels down and will increase our energy. Another way intermittent fasting improves fat loss is by lessening caloric intake. Going without eating for extended periods has helped me really identify true hunger, so that by the time that I'm ready to eat, I'm able to identify exactly how hungry I am, and I know exactly how much I would need to eat in order to stay fueled. At the end of the day, what really matters for fat loss is that you're in a caloric deficit. What a caloric deficit is that at the end of the day, you've burned more calories than you've consumed. This is something that I really think is overlooked when it comes to intermittent fasting. The total number of calories you burn in a day comes from exercise plus your BMR, which stands for basal metabolic rate. Your BMR is your baseline caloric expenditure. It's basically what you'd burn in a day if you just did nothing, if you were completely inactive for the whole day. This number varies from person to person. I learned what my BMR was from a body composition test, which also told me my body fat levels and my muscle mass. This is a free service that's offered by some nutrition and fitness shops, and I highly recommend it. The muscle growth that I've experienced from intermittent fasting has come partly from the increased release of human growth hormone, or HGH, caused by fasting. Various studies have shown that groups put on intermittent fasting have shown increases in lean muscle mass and decreases in body fat levels over several months' time. The mental clarity and focus that I've gotten from fasting is almost unreal. I find that I'm a lot more mindful and creative the further I am into a fasted state. I used to eat 3 meals a day with snacking in between meals, yet I remember that I felt so lethargic. Ever since I began intermittent fasting, I've been able to eat 2 large meals a day, with no snacking in between, and my energy is at an all-time high. When I first tried intermittent fasting, I jumped right in and just tried the 16-8 format, and I used to get headaches and I found that it was hard to focus. That was because I didn't really allow my body to progress into it and allow time to adapt. It took a few weeks of starting with smaller fasting periods, but eventually I was able to work up to 16-hour fasting. Now I'm able to do the 16-8 format with no problems. I've also done the ketogenic diet, which ultimately didn't work for me. I found that it wasn't a good match for my activity type and my goals. I do a pretty good amount of strength training and endurance training, which keto didn't support very well. The keto diet has been used clinically to treat patients with different sorts of illnesses and disorders, though not all studies have shown success. I've also noticed that most people use the ketogenic diet for rapid weight loss, which has shown quite a bit of success, but they normally don't do it for the long term. After doing the ketogenic diet personally for a few weeks, I found that it wasn't a good fit for me, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to sustain it. However, just because it didn't work for me doesn't mean it couldn't be a good choice for you. Essentially, you're reprogramming your body to accept fats as the primary energy source instead of carbohydrates. If you decide to try keto, make sure you do as much research as possible and be attentive to how your body reacts to it. At one time, I followed a very strict paleo diet. Paleo was very helpful because it helped me be more mindful of what I eat, and it taught me what the human body is really meant to consume. Cutting out flour, dairy, and drastically reducing my sugar intake was really challenging in the beginning, but ultimately it really improved my energy and my functionality. The way I eat today is mainly paleo with a few adjustments based on my needs. I've found that following any diet verbatim can be really dangerous because it discourages being able to think for yourself. If the way you're eating doesn't agree with your body or you feel like it won't really help you reach your goals, then make adjustments where you see fit. I found that tracking my calories and macros has been the best way for me to really find success with my goals concerning body composition. Understanding the levels of protein, carbohydrates, and fats that I need has really been helpful. What you need is highly subjective and depends on several factors, so I did a fair amount of research before I decided on my calories and macro split. I monitored my nutrients and minerals and try to make sure that I avoid any shortages or overages. There are some things that we just can't get enough of from food alone, which is why I think it's important to consider supplementation. Supplementation should really be unique to your needs and your goals. Some of the supplements that I take include protein, krill oil, MCT oil, glutamine, and Ceylon cinnamon, I think is how you pronounce it. The reason I take that specific kind of cinnamon is because the more common kind of cinnamon that you might find in a supermarket is likely going to be cassia cinnamon, which has a high level of coumarin, which has been toxic in high amounts. It can cause liver damage, among other things. Ceylon cinnamon, on the other hand, contains virtually no coumarin, so it's safe to take in large doses. I take every day about a teaspoon. It's been shown to increase insulin sensitivity, and it helps keep body fat levels down. When it comes to cheat meals, I see nothing wrong with indulging. I'll say the obvious and say don't do it all the time. I used to allocate one day every weekend for cheat meals, but sometimes it would just seem obligatory, oddly enough. If I would go long enough with healthy eating, sometimes my cravings would pretty much entirely subside and I wouldn't be tempted to have a cheat meal at all. I've just learned to keep cheat meals as a reward system. I'd still enjoy a good Hawaiian pizza from time to time. It's important that you have the right mindset when it comes to nutrition. Muscle levels and body fat are not the only factors for health and wellness. Just make sure that your foods have nutritious value and keep it specific to what your goals and your needs are. My physical training has been built around my specific goals, which include strength, cardiovascular health, and aesthetics. Identifying my reasons for working out and taking care of my body has really helped carry me through my journey with fitness. I want to be a source of inspiration for other people. I want to discover my body's true potential. I want to be the fit grandpa who can keep up with his grandkids. I think my sports history has been pretty extensive. It really helped me identify my strengths and weaknesses, and it was educational in that it helped me learn what was effective in achieving different kinds of goals. In middle school, I was a swimmer. In high school, I was primarily a long-distance runner. I competed in cross-country and track all 4 years. I also competed in some sprinting events in track. My senior year of high school, I played rugby. Shortly thereafter, I started training and competing in CrossFit, which gave me more exposure to weightlifting. Today, I compete in weightlifting, which I'm absolutely in love with. In addition to the training I do for weightlifting, I'll also include some additional strength training, which could include some compound exercises and calisthenics. As a way of tracking progress with any physical exercise, I found it really important to follow some program and to keep record of benchmark exercises. I like to have some plan of what I'm going to do each day so that I'm not going into it blindly. The kind of training that I do for aesthetics will focus on isolation exercises with the goal of hypertrophy. Any muscle groups that I train with isolation, I like to train twice a week with at least 2 days rest between training days. I found that the best results with hypertrophy come from training based on intensity and effort level and really training each set to failure. I also like to incorporate cardio into my training, primarily to protect against heart disease. The heart is a muscle that needs to be worked, so cardio is really important. I like to do workouts that use the HIIT training method or high intensity interval training. I found that interval training is really good for heart health. I also like to swim sometimes. That's one of the best things I've found for cardio. I also like to do CrossFit style workouts from time to time. Regardless of the kind of workouts that you do, I just think it's really important that you focus on good form and that you train key lifts like the squat, the deadlift, and other things like that individually for the purpose of building strength. As far as injury prevention and recovery goes, some of the best advice I can give you is to really focus on stretching. Make sure that you get enough sleep. I've found that 8 hours is the best. This, I'll admit, has been really a weak area for me. I'm trying to improve to make sure that I get enough sleep every night. I find that it's much easier to recover and you risk so much less injury if you get the right amount of sleep. Sleep has been shown to be critical for healthy body weight and fat levels. If you don't get adequate levels of sleep, it can cause a rise in something called cortisol, which can throw everything off and in the long run can cause increased body fat levels. I think recovery days are really important. I personally like to take just 1 day a week where I allow my body time to really recuperate and get ready for the next training cycle the next week. I'm disciplined about my training and weightlifting, but sometimes being in just a gym makes me feel cooped up, so I like to go outside and do a variety of things for fun. I like to do mountain biking and road biking. I love swimming. I love boxing. I love going out and doing yoga sometimes. I'll do trail running. I've done Tough Mudders and Spartan races in the past. Just go out and move. Just go out and have fun. With physical exercise, basically what I've found is that weight training and interval training are two of the most beneficial methods that I've used to date. Just make sure that you train with a certain level of intensity, be aware of the effort level that you're giving, and really do your research to make sure that you're getting the most of how you work out. Lastly, I want to share a little bit about what I've done to improve my mindset and my mental health. Don't take lightly what I'm about to share with you. This area is arguably the most important, whether it's with regards to physical training or anything else. Once I really started taking steps to improve my mentality, everything else fell into place. I believe the journey with fitness is just as much a psychological battle as it is a physical one. I've learned to be just as passionate about mental well-being as physical health. Unless you have a personal trainer who micromanages you every hour of every day, you will need to be self-driven in order to sustain healthy habits. This is a skill that anyone can master. Just understand that it will take time to really develop strong self-determination. Don't underestimate the importance of progression. Be ambitious in what you want for yourself and where you want to be, but be patient in getting there. Work up to your long-term goals by continuously setting short-term goals that will push you in the right direction. Identify your motivators. Be clear about your reasons for putting in hard work and hold on to them. Keep totems that represent what you want. If there's something that I want to attain, I'll write it down immediately and keep it on me at all times. That way I look at it every day and it'll become ingrained into my subconscious. Whatever drives you, keep that at the forefront of your life. What motivates me personally? It's become an addiction for me at this point, but there are still some things that I really like to think of whenever I find myself struggling. My number one motivator is to discover my true potential. I can't leave this world without knowing what my mind and body are capable of, so I'm building this every damn day to find that out. I want to inspire others. I want to lead by example. I found this incredibly powerful cycle where my work ethic and my attitude inspires someone else to take action, and that, in turn, motivates me even further. Like people say, consistency is key. There's no better way to reinforce good habits than with repetition. Repetition will lead to new habits, which will create new behaviors and attitudes. If you want personal growth and development, you have to expect and embrace difficulty along the way. Choosing happiness despite your circumstances will create positivity in your life. I'm discovering more and more just how contagious a positive mindset can be. Be an example of happiness for other people in your life, because it will come back around to you. There is discipline required in starting and maintaining healthy habits. One thing that has really helped me stay focused and maintain the things that I've been doing for myself is being able to distinguish the short term from the long term. I've taught myself to have a greater desire for happiness from accomplishments and fulfillment rather than just from short-term gratification. Allow time for results to show. If you feel like you're not benefiting from what you're doing for yourself, then reassess what you're doing. No work should come without reward, just the same as no reward should come without work. Alright guys, that was a brief rundown of what I learned and what I wish someone had shared with me when I first started trying to get more fit. I hope you got something out of what I shared, and I truly hope you find success. Do what you love what you do, and put into it everything you got. Alright.